There comes a moment not in your calendar, but in your soul when a whisper grows loud enough to break you. You are being loyal to what is destroying you, not because you are weak, but because you were taught to be, taught to endure pain as virtue, taught to confuse suffering with strength, taught to mistake betrayal for love, taught to stay where your spirit is dying just because it's familiar. And so you kept showing up for things that kept you small, kept clinging to what felt like home, even when it felt like hell, kept justifying the very patterns that stole your fire. But this is not loyalty. This is slow spiritual suicide. Carl Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So ask yourself, is this your fate or your programming? Because that thing you're defending, that relationship, that job, that identity, it's not keeping you safe. It's keeping you stuck. You are not protecting your peace. You are preserving your prison and calling it loyalty. But true loyalty begins with truth. And the truth is simple. Anything that demands the death of your light is not worth your devotion. Stop clinging to wounds just because they're yours. Stop nurturing patterns that poison you just because they're predictable. You were not born to be a servant to your past. You were born to be the master of your future. So let this be the turning point, not the motivational kind, the surgical kind, the kind where you remove with ruthless precision every attachment that delays your becoming. Let go. Let go of what's draining you. Let go of what's beneath you. Let go of what keeps whispering, stay small, stay scared, stay the same. You are not meant to survive this life quietly. You are meant to rise loud, whole, unshaken. But first, you must stop being loyal to what's killing you slowly. Stop feeding the fire that burns your potential. Stop calling it love when it's actually loss. Because if you don't walk away, you'll be buried alive by the very thing you keep defending. And you know this already. You felt it in the silence between distractions, that subtle ache in your chest that isn't anxiety, it's truth trying to speak. You felt it when you smiled at something that broke you, when you nodded along to conversations that insulted your soul, when you stayed long after your spirit had already left. That ache, that tightening in your chest, that's the sound of your inner world begging you to choose you. But you've been trained to ignore it. You were conditioned to make yourself small so others wouldn't feel threatened. Taught to be agreeable even when it cost you your voice. Taught that being alone is worse than being drained. Taught that keeping peace means abandoning your truth. This is not strength, this is spiritual amnesia. And somewhere along the way, you confused surviving with living. You confused fitting in with belonging. You confused comfort with safety. But comfort without growth is decay. And staying where you're dying just to avoid change is not noble. It's betrayal of the highest order. Because every time you choose what's familiar over what's right, a piece of you withers. Every time you betray your truth to keep the peace, your nervous system pays the price. Every time you say it's fine when it isn't, you reinforce the lie that you don't matter. But you do matter. Your truth matters. Your energy matters. Your voice matters. You do not need permission to walk away. You do not need validation to choose better. You do not owe your suffering a second chance. What you owe is this: a life lived in alignment, a heart unburdened by pretending, a mind no longer negotiating with its own worth. And that starts the moment you stop being loyal to what's killing you. Not gradually, not when it feels safe. Now, rip it out. The toxic job, the draining friend, the version of yourself that apologizes for being powerful. Rip it out, not in rage, but in reverence, because you are not doing this out of hate, but out of love. Love for your future, love for your peace, love for the version of you waiting on the other side of this severance. Let the old loyalty die and watch your life begin. Because when you stop being loyal to your pain, you finally become loyal to your potential. And that shift, that internal rebellion is not a light switch. It's a fire. It starts as a spark, a quiet, no more. Then it becomes a blaze, never again. And finally, it becomes your new law. I will not serve what breaks me. That law rewrites your nervous system. It recalibrates your decisions. It reorganizes your relationships, your routines, your reality. You no longer stay out of guilt. You no longer explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You no longer shrink to be digestible. You no longer water yourself down to keep others from drowning. Because here's the brutal truth. Most people don't want you healed. Not because they're evil, but because your healing exposes their choices. Your rise threatens their comfort. Your boundaries disrupt their control. But you are not here to be digestible. You are here to be undeniable. You are not here to be understood by the masses. You are here to be respected by yourself. And if you must lose people to find yourself, so be it. If you must disappoint others to stay in integrity, so be it. If you must walk alone for a while, so be it. Because solitude in truth is better than company in illusion. Because silence in alignment is louder than applause in performance. Let the world misinterpret you. Let them think you changed. You did. You changed into someone who no longer settles, into someone who no longer trades their peace for approval, into someone who no longer sacrifices their future to protect someone else's comfort. That's not selfish. That's sacred. So when the guilt rises, breathe. When the doubt whispers, move anyway. When the fear begs you to go back, run forward. Because every step you take away from what is destroying you is a step toward becoming someone unrecognizable to your past. Someone who doesn't flinch anymore. Someone who doesn't explain anymore. Someone who doesn't perform anymore. Someone who is free not because they escaped, but because they chose. And choosing yourself is not a moment, it's a war. Every morning you wake up, you'll feel the old pull. The pull to be liked, to comply, to belong, to play it safe. The pull of old habits, old people, old patterns that whisper, come back, be who you were. And you must answer with fire, that version of me is gone. I buried him. Because you will be tested by silence, by temptation, by the seductive ache of nostalgia. But nostalgia is a liar. It remembers the sweetness and forgets the rot. It remembers the comfort and forgets the cost. It will try to rewrite history to make you miss the very things that poisoned you. Don't fall for it. Loyalty to your old life is treason to your future. And if you keep turning around, you'll never build what's ahead. You can't build a new world with your hands still tied to the wreckage of the old one. This is where your evolution becomes non-negotiable. You stop trying to fix what was designed to break you. You stop waiting for permission from people who benefit from your silence. You stop hoping the same fire that burned you will one day warm you. That's the death of delusion. And from that death comes clarity. Cold, sharp, surgical clarity. You see the games, you see the patterns, you see how you kept choosing what was killing you and calling it fate. But fate is a lie told by cowards who never fought for their freedom. You are not here to be a character in someone else's myth. You are not here to inherit wounds as identity. You are not here to bleed quietly in the name of tradition. You are here to break the cycle, to shatter the script, to become the interruption. That is why it hurts, because you are not just healing yourself, you are healing a lineage. You are ending what should have ended generations ago. You are burning the rope that tied your ancestors to silence. So yes, it's heavy, but it's holy, it's sacred, it's necessary. Stop being loyal to what's destroying you, and start being loyal to the future only you were born to create. Because when you choose to become the interruption, when you sever the patterns, when you walk away from what your bloodline called normal, you don't just change your story, you become the chapter that never existed before. You become the one who said no more. No more dimming to be accepted. No more performing to be loved. No more bleeding to keep others warm. No more clinging to things that poison your spirit and then calling it resilience. True resilience isn't staying in what breaks you. It's leaving even when you're shaking. It's walking away even when your heart still wants to fix it. It's choosing the unknown, not because it's easy, but because your soul is suffocating where you are. And the world will not understand you. Let them stare. Let them question. Let them whisper. They are still asleep in the systems you just escaped. You will lose comfort, but you will gain clarity. You will lose people, but you will find yourself. You will lose familiarity, but you will gain freedom. And freedom is not soft. It is not gentle. It is a violent uprooting of everything you once thought was home. But what if your home was built on survival? What if it taught you to love in fear? To shrink in the name of loyalty? To endure instead of evolve? Then burning it down is the holiest thing you could ever do. This is the fire that awakens you. The fire that says, if it costs me my peace, it is too expensive. If it costs me my purpose, it is a betrayal. If it costs me my future, it ends today. This is not drama. This is destiny. This is not rebellion. This is remembrance of who you were before you forgot, of who you are beneath the programming, of the primal force that has been waiting years, decades, lifetimes for you to finally listen. And what it's telling you now is this: loyalty is sacred, but loyalty misdirected is suicide. Your job is not to stay. Your job is to see clearly, move boldly, cut cleanly, so that you may finally live. So now you stand at the threshold between who you were and who you're about to become. And no one can walk you across it. No mentor, no book, no savior. This one is yours. Alone, sacred, unforgiving, free. You will feel the old self claw for resurrection. You will hear the voices of the past plead for your loyalty. You will remember the warmth of your cage. But you will not go back, because the door is open now. The veil is torn. The illusion is shattered. You see it clearly. The people, the systems, the beliefs, they were never worthy of the sacrifices you made. They fed on your silence, on your guilt, on the fear they handed you and called it wisdom. But you know better now. Not in your head, in your bones. You are no longer seduced by being needed. You are no longer flattered by crumbs of validation. You are no longer addicted to performing stability in a life that secretly drains you. You are here now with truth in your blood and fire in your breath. And you finally understand loyalty is not virtue when it's given to dysfunction. You owe nothing to the patterns that kept you small. You owe nothing to the wounds that made you afraid to rise. You owe nothing to the identity that helped you survive but would have destroyed your becoming. The only loyalty that matters now is the one you forge with yourself. Loyalty to your becoming. Loyalty to your peace. Loyalty to your vision. even if no one else sees it yet. Especially then, and yes, there will be grief, because evolution is a funeral. You will bury versions of yourself you once loved. You will grieve the comfort you mistook for love. You will mourn the people who cannot follow you where you're going. But that grief, it's holy. It is the sound of shackles falling. It is the cost of liberation. And on the other side of that grief is a version of you so powerful, so clear, so undeniable, that the world will no longer recognize you. But more importantly, you will finally recognize you. So rise now, not gently, not politely. Rise like the storm that ends every lie. Rise like the reckoning your ancestors prayed would come. Rise like the one who finally broke the curse. And walk forward with nothing behind you but graves and everything ahead of you, waiting to be conquered by the one who finally stopped being loyal to what was destroying them. Walk forward and don't look back. Not even once. The strongest people you'll ever meet aren't the loudest. They're not the ones flashing power, screaming confidence, or chasing applause. The strongest people in the room are often the quietest because they've mastered something sacred. The ability to say no, not out of fear, not out of insecurity, but from clarity, from conviction, from the deep, immovable knowing of who they are and who they refuse to be. You think strength is built through more hustle, more followers, yes, more approval. But becoming unshakable doesn't start with more. It starts with less, with the cutting, with the choosing, with the line drawn in the soul that says, this is who I am. And everything that doesn't honor that must go. You become unshakable the moment you stop apologizing for protecting your peace. You become untouchable the moment you realize that your energy is your empire and access to it is earned, not owed. Carl Jung said, is the privilege of become who you truly are. But the price of that privilege is saying no to everything that tries to make you forget. You were not born to be everything to everyone. You were not built to say yes to every call, every offer, every plea for attention. You were not designed to be stretched thin in the name of being nice. You were built to be solid, not soft, whole, not hollowed out by obligation. But the world doesn't want you solid. It wants you compliant, approachable, predictable, exhausted. It wants you addicted to the dopamine of agreement. Because when you're always saying yes, you're too busy to remember you're not free. Real freedom begins with a word that terrifies the insecure. No. No to the distraction. No to the drama. No to the people who only remember you when they need something. No to the impulse to please. No to the constant reach for more when you haven't even become more. Because every yes you give out of guilt is a no to yourself. Every yes you give from fear is a permission slip for your boundaries to be broken. And the psyche remembers. It tracks every betrayal. Every time you silence yourself. Every time you tolerate what used to be unacceptable. Every time you go against your intuition to keep the peace. It remembers and it builds resentment, buries rage, cripples clarity. To become unshakable, you must detox from approval. You must stop performing and start protecting. Protecting your time, protecting your voice, protecting your purpose, like it's the last sacred thing left in a world that wants you distracted, diluted, and depleted. This is where Syphoria begins. The inner clarity that buzzes in your bones when you finally choose truth over tolerance. The electricity that awakens when your yes actually means yes, because your no has weight. Syphoria is not pleasure. It's power. It's the rush that comes when your life finally reflects your soul, not your fear. And to live in Syphoria, you have to become ruthless with what you allow. You have to stop being polite to your own destruction. You have to stop inviting chaos over for tea because it's wearing the face of an old friend, a family member, a childhood pattern. Becoming unshakable means facing the grief of boundaries. Because when you say no, you don't just disappoint others. You bury parts of your old identity. The people pleaser, the helper, the savior, the martyr, the one who got their value from being needed. But you were never created to be needed. You were created to be known, and that only happens when you are willing to be misunderstood. Because not everyone can comprehend conviction. Not everyone can handle a soul that's not for sale. So let them be confused. Let them talk. Let them walk away. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be undeniably yourself. And that means drawing the line. It means rewriting the contract. It means waking up every day and asking, what is no longer welcome in my life? What did I allow yesterday that no longer belongs today? What am I still holding on to that's making me weak, unclear, unavailable to my future? Because you cannot become unshakable if you are still addicted to comfort. Comfort in your patterns. Comfort in your excuses. Comfort in your fake yes. The yes that keeps you small. The yes that waters you down. The yes that gets you applause, but robs you of alignment. Discipline doesn't just mean doing the hard things. It means saying no to the easy ones. It means walking away from what is almost right so you can finally meet what is exactly aligned. It means choosing boredom over chaos, solitude over noise, vision over validation. And the moment you start doing that, you stop bending, you stop breaking, you stop explaining your no like it needs a PowerPoint presentation. Because when you know who you are, no becomes holy. No becomes sharp. No becomes a sword that cuts through every lie you used to live in. You were not born to be agreeable. You were born to be anchored, and anchored people don't flinch. They don't sway with opinion. They don't shapeshift for attention. They walk into rooms knowing if I'm too much for this space is not enough for me. Let them shrink. Let them squirm. Let them say you've changed. Because you finally remembered that no is not a rejection of others. It's a reclamation of self. And from that self, clarity begins. Vision is born. Purpose reawakens. And a new rhythm sets in. One that doesn't need chaos to feel alive. One that doesn't need noise to feel valuable. One that doesn't say yes unless the soul agrees. This is the root of all power. And it begins with a word so simple, so small, yet so feared, no. Because once you say it, once you say no with your chest, with your spine, with your soul, you never go back. There is a moment in every transformation where the old self gasps for breath, where your former identity pleads with you to soften, to compromise, to just be liked again, to make it easy, to say yes because it's nicer, because it avoids conflict, because it keeps the peace. But peace built on self-abandonment isn't peace. It's performance. It's a funeral dressed in diplomacy. It's silence where your roar used to live. Becoming unshakable means you finally let it die. You let the old identity dissolve. The agreeable one, the always available one, the one who needed to be seen to feel real, the one who said yes to stay safe. You bury it with honor, with fire, and then you rise, emptier, but truer. Because when you finally clear out everything that isn't you, you start hearing a different voice. Not the noise of the world, but the rhythm of the real you. The voice that doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it doesn't ask for permission. It just knows. It knows what to do when the world tests your edges. It knows what to keep and what to cut. It knows that power isn't loud. It's precise. And the most precise act of power is knowing when to refuse, not from fear, but from fullness, from the deep-rooted understanding that your boundaries are not walls. They are windows into your values. And what you protect reflects what you believe you're worth. That's why no is so terrifying to those still healing, because it forces them to confront the question, what have I been allowing that is beneath the life I claim to want? And if you really want the life, the freedom, the clarity, the focus, you'll have to earn it. Not by doing more, but by choosing less distraction, less compromise, less explaining. You will not be able to carry both your future and your need to be understood. One will have to go, because no is a door. Every time you say it, you close the portal back to who you used to be. Every time you say it, you remind the universe that you are unavailable for anything that dilutes you. Unshakable people don't fight to be included. They don't knock on locked doors. They build their own rooms. They walk with conviction, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. They know that discomfort is temporary, but regret is a life sentence. And the pain of saying no in the moment is nothing compared to the pain of saying yes to what kills you slowly. So they choose the moment, they feel the sting, they let the silence follow the no. They let people react, they let them go, and they stand still. They don't shake, they don't explain, they don't justify their standards like they're negotiable, because they are done. Done being stretched for people who don't bend. Done being drained by people who never pour back. Done being soft for a world that only respects steel. That steel, it's not cold. It's not cruel. It's sacred. It's what allows you to stay soft where it matters. With the ones who see you, honor you, meet you where your no is already understood. Because no isn't a rejection. It's alignment. It's a redirect from distraction to destiny. It's the boundary that makes your yes worth something again. It's the gate you place in front of your time, your attention, your sacred mind. So only those who carry respect may enter. And when you start living like that, the world changes. Not because it becomes easier, but because you become clearer. You stop chasing clarity and start becoming it. You stop seeking power and start embodying it. And suddenly, the storms that used to shake you don't. The rejections that used to break you don't. The distractions that used to seduce you don't. Because now, your soul has structure. Now, your mind has muscle. Now, your energy is no longer leaking through every open door, because you've finally chosen to protect what's inside the temple. Becoming unshakable was never about becoming hard. It was about becoming holy. It was about returning to yourself so fully so unapologetically that every no became a prayer for protection, a prayer for purpose, a prayer that said, I will no longer betray myself to be included. I will no longer abandon myself to be accepted. I will no longer say yes when my soul says no. And from that place, you walk differently, not with arrogance, but with authority. The quiet, grounded kind that doesn't need to prove anything, because you are the proof. You survived. You remembered. You reclaimed. And now you are unshakable.